Hello, beautiful star souls. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, this is gonna be an Astro update, and that's why you're looking at the natal chart. That is the natal chart of today. I pulled it up for a random hour, but I am basically using astrology in the current transits, not so much because of a specific event. We're going to discuss this as well, but I was wanting and trying to clarify, download the transmission of information I was receiving from the Lyran constellation. It was coming on very strongly, and I did try to ignore it, or I thought it might be just personal and I'm just gonna keep it to myself, but I just don't feel calm and settled if I just keep it to myself. So first of all, the Lyrans came with a strong message on how we perceive them. I know we perceive them as feline beings. Oftentimes, that's how we see them in meditations. This is their symbol, their visual representation. And they say that that is okay and somehow accurate, but they're also explaining how it's a bit of a projection running through our new age spiritual community and those of us who want to tap into cosmic and even beyond, galactic. It's almost like when I say cosmic, I think of just our solar system, and when I say galactic, I think of the entire universe. That's why I said it like that. But yeah, basically, those of us who want to expand beyond our solar system in terms of what we communicate with and the consciousnesses, we may want to hear the Lyrans here, because these beings, they're showing me that they much more resonate with the imagery of fairy-like beings, or just lights, or emanations of color, and a sound, like a melody, like a beam of light that creates a melody. And that the feline form or visual representation is, first of all, a lower manifestation of their consciousness. And they're saying that, these lower manifestations of their consciousness as felines, they are not very communicative, especially with humanity. And also they resonate more as felines when they incarnate through their cycles of incarnation on the star of Regulus, which is in the Leo constellation. So Lyra and Lyran, original Lyran beings, not hybrids, not lower density incarnates from Lyra. True original Lyrans, they really carry color and a specific sound, like a specific melody, a specific frequency. And usually if we see them as felines, and by no means I used to see them this way, I mean, by no means I'm judging anyone, because I also used to connect with them like that, but they were just very like, they were very open about how we tend to plug an idea into our community and this galactic consciousness that we're opening up to, and we just take it and we roll with it and we don't question it a lot. And they were showing me that actually the feline form is a lower manifestation of light and energy that comes on Earth through Regulus, actually, through that star. And that, the symbolism, the animals and everything that the ancients saw in the constellations it was for a reason. Like, it's for a reason that Leo is the lion and Lyra is not the lion. So yeah, they were saying that when we see felines, instead of a beam of light and a sound frequency, we're most likely connecting with a Regulus being that we're misinterpreting for a Lyran, because that's what we've heard. And also, even if we really feel it's Lyran energy, it is probably a lower dimensional, not negative, but just a lower dimensional being that in fact is very close to us and to our consciousness, because the higher beings, when they have a very human or not even human, but like when they have an image that is very close to what we know here on Earth, they're very close to us in frequency and consciousness, and it's almost like you're talking to a being on your own level. The more light they are, the more they're abstract in how you perceive and feel their energy, the more ascended they are. So that's another thing that they wanted me to share with you. But yeah, basically they were like, the feline form is not our original form. That was a lower manifestation, and it didn't even take place on Lyra. Like, that feline dense manifestation did not even take place on Lyra, that genetic, truly. It developed mostly through the gate of Regulus, one of the fixed stars. So that was the first transmission. And yeah, they came very strongly, and I was wondering, why am I channeling the Lyrans so strongly lately? Because even though I resonate with them a lot and I consider them family, I wasn't sure why they were coming on. And then I realized, hold on, we had a stellium in Capricorn that you can see right here. And hold on, let me pick a different color. Yeah, Capricorn. And Venus, Mars, Pluto, even Mercury at some point, they were all in Capricorn. And they were forming very interesting aspects, unleashing a lot of energy. And the planets are kind of like the radios, and the constellations are the stations or the signals we're tuning in. Or you could say the constellations are the music that plays, and the planets are the radio stations. So yeah, when we tune into different music, we receive different information. And we had these, we focused a lot astrologically on these things are taking place in the constellation of Capricorn, and Capricorn, that was like the highlight. But when you pull up a natal chart in the constellation of Capricorn, you get Vega, and two other very bright stars in the Lyran constellation that I cannot name fully because I'm not seeing the full name here. Hold on. I think... No, I won't be able to read them because it's pixelized, but that's fine. You can look up the Lyran constellation and look at the stars. But basically, Lyran, stars from Lyra are sitting within Capricorn. Just as you have Sirius within Cancer, here you have Regulus, and Regulus is actually on the cusp between Virgo and Leo. So yeah, these are very interesting to know. For example, Aldebaran, which is in the constellation of Taurus, when you pull up a natal chart, because of the if you do Vedic, I think Aldebaran sits within Taurus, but yeah, in a Western astrology natal chart, Aldebaran would sit in Gemini, but the star is not in the constellation of Gemini. So yeah. So Lyra comes in Capricorn, and that explained why they were coming through so strongly. So yeah, at least it made sense to me. I figured it out. But another thing that they were talking about was how how Lyrans and Lyran energy really brings in that Queen of Earth, which Capricorn is, vibe. And when you connect with Lyrans, their true essence will be very earthly in the sense of very natural, very much connected to nature. They, for example, Arcturian or Syrian energy, I feel that mix of technology within the bioenergetic fields of these beings. I feel like they're also working with technology. For example, with Arcturus, I feel organic technology. It doesn't feel heavy. With Syrians, it's mixed. It depends on the being, if you ask me, quite honestly. With Lyra, no technology. They really only work with crystals, and they really only work with the technology of their very advanced planets and just very advanced nature, especially vegans. So that's another thing that they wanted to highlight. And when they come through, they really require you to be very connected with abstract thinking, to be able to perceive them, to be able to channel their energy. And they also want you to be very connected to nature. And they told me also that they would resonate on a similar frequency as the alternative universe, or if you will, overlapping reality of Avalon and magic here on Earth. That is what Lyra really resonates with. So yeah, for those of you who are interested in the times of Avalon and King Arthur, Lyra really resonates with that consciousness, with those overlapping versions of Earth. Okay, so that's one way you can recognize them, and definitely not just a feline image like a lioness or a lion or a tiger or whatever. In fact, when you get these images, you're most likely contacting or pulling information from Regulus. And yeah, Regulus, that's it. There are definitely lower manifestation of Lyran souls, lower incarnations of Lyran souls that may come from a different star system, because they also travel, right? But the pure Lyrans that actually come from their original constellation, this is where they reside, this is where they're developing, this is where they've been growing. You won't see a feline image with them. So it may take you time, if you're really used to perceive them this way, it may take you time to recognize the origin of these beings. And you may think that they're actually angels, or you may wonder, what they are. It's just light, it's abstract color, not necessarily shapes, it could be, but it's more of light and harmonics, music. They really use that. Okay, so now it's nice that they came through, because after they explained all of this, they were also talking about sovereignty and how humanity is really freeing itself and really becoming sovereign. And I was very confused, because I don't think some of the global events reflect that. But at the same time, they were like, they were, trying to convey this idea that humanity is gaining sovereignty on an individual level. And they were very, strong on the more we personally choose who we connect with, what communities and people we decide to be in our lives. The more personal choices we make that are not influenced by friends or media or whatever, for example, buying from smaller businesses, choosing, I don't know, like maybe not having not feeding into certain institutions and their structures, finding ways to be very much independent from any centralized power. That's how we are achieving sovereignty, and that's how we are freeing ourselves. And that was their very short very short take on that topic. And I was like, but why is this even mentioned? Why are they talking about this? And it's because this is the physical manifestation we will see. You will see more and more people. It's almost like your personal life will not resonate with the global events. And I think that till the end of this year, a lot of people will have, majority of us, of course not all of us, and I know not all of us are this privileged, but majority of us will have nice manifestations on a personal level. But then when you look at the global world, you may think that the world is going to hell, but then your personal life is doing kind of well, and you're confused. How am I supposed to feel? And what is this? But the Lyrans were talking about the more individualized choices you make, the more personalized choices you make. And I'm not talking about escaping reality, not seeing what's going on in the world and so on and so forth, but the more you don't base your decisions on I know this is difficult and maybe triggering and maybe controversial topic, but the more you try to base your decisions from your higher intelligence rather than what you see in the global world, the more free you will be, and the less you will be touched or affected by global events. Okay, that's a difficult message to get out, because I definitely don't think you should not have empathy for people who go through shitty situations and things like that, but that's just what I got, and that's my message, and it is what it is. Okay, I was guided to communicate this, that the more you take decisions from a place of I'm independent, I don't depend on institutions, or I don't depend or base my decisions on global manipulated events, the less you will be affected by those. Period, point blank, that's it. That was the message. Now, they were saying that this is the case because this is first taking place on an energetic level. And they guided me to very interesting information about entity attachments in the astral plane and how we're purifying this. And I'm going to show you how this actually looks, and it's so obvious and apparent in the astrological events, but you need to look at the planets and the signs and their meanings from a different perspective. So I'm going to show it to you. This chart, I wanna see if I have a chart from basically when Pluto, Mars and Venus were in Capricorn. No, I don't have that. Okay, no, so we're going to work with what I have. That's fine. So imagine Mars, Pluto and Venus were right here in Capricorn. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's ruling traditions, structures, foundations, authorities, achievements, the government. Saturn and Capricorn do rule over the government. And you have Venus, Mars and Pluto moving through that. So of course, with the aspects, with the conjunctions and everything, we expected some turbulent political or governmental events to take place, as it happened. But on an esoteric scale, Capricorn is the highest point the soul can reach spiritually in the physical plane. Saturn rules the densest aspect of the body, the bones. And you have this alchemical thing going on in the densest aspects of the physical body. What's actually taking place? Now, Mars represents the body. Pluto is alchemy, transformation, death, and so on and so forth. And it's also a higher octave of Mars. It's the higher expression of Mars. Venus represents, I would say, from an esoteric perspective, Venus represents the ability to feel, to sense our soul, our spirit in the body. So it's the connection that the body has with the soul. So you have the body, you have the link to the soul with Venus coming in conjunction with a planet that is about alchemy, transformation, annihilation, like destroying everything completely, fully, taking you to the underworld of yourself and pulling you back up. You know, it's the phoenix rising, that is Pluto. And all of these taking place in Capricorn. So the message was basically that you will have, because Pluto is the underworld, and I was recently channeling also Pluto energy, and I was wondering what is going on. You know, I was just getting these random moments, channeling this, then picking up on that, and now that I just connect the dots, I was channeling Pluto, and I kept getting, you know, kind of negative vibes from Pluto. I was feeling, you know, very much the malefic side of Pluto. Pluto and Mars are both malefic planets, but especially Pluto. And I was feeling a very dark side and dark energy coming from Pluto. And I didn't like it because I actually like this planet. I mean, I'm a Scorpio. I'm ruled by Pluto. I love Pluto. However, I was feeling that. And it was kind of scary. And I realized, oh my gosh. Pluto and Mars and Venus coming together in Capricorn is taking our astral body through a purification that will later on manifest in the physical. Okay, so there is an emphasis on the body, on the physical body, and the influence it has, the influence spirit has on the physical body. Venus is that spirit. Venus is the spark of creation, of beauty and harmony and cosmic laws and all of that. Venus is literally how the soul would manifest in the material plane. So that's why Venus is beauty, because spirit is harmonious, and on a physical plane it will manifest as something harmonious and beautiful. So art, for example. But then Mars is not just the body, also on an esoteric level, Mars would be the soul. So you get this distinct difference where, you know, if you compare Venus and Mars, they're both very physical plane oriented planets. But if you look at them from a more esoteric perspective, you would notice Venus carries the spark of spirit, while Mars is more of the soul. Mars is more of the ego, the personality, because Mars is about taking action, and taking action is done when you achieve some sort of personification of a quality. Okay, the qualities become a personality, and then you get your ego. While Venus is more so passive. She just is. It's healing as well, but it's the spirit. So you have that very intricate thing going on where Venus is supporting and healing and trying to keep the link to our spirit so we don't lose hope and we don't lose a sense of beauty, we don't lose a sense of ascension, whilst Mars and Pluto are clashing together and the body and the ego is being purified and Pluto is showing the darkest truths. And because Capricorn and Saturn is all about established tradition, culture becoming tradition, that is Capricorn and Pluto and Saturn. Pluto and Mars being in Cap, Pluto is showing Mars that Mars is taking action and is being controlled by an established order or tradition, by an established system of beliefs and system of set laws and things of that nature. And Pluto is also showing Mars that, because again, Venus is linking us to spirit, and even Mercury was in Capricorn, so again, spirit, the mind, the soul. Pluto is also showing that the physical body is being controlled by certain collective clouds of ideas, that these are called egregores. Some call them egregores, and this is basically an idea that many people think of, many people believe in it, and they feed into it, and that idea becomes an entity in the astral plane. And because Pluto is not just, I think when we say the word transformation, we say it so much in the spiritual community. I've noticed that we may not take it seriously, but I want you to know Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, so Saturn is overlooking here and working with Mars. This is like surgery operation on the soul, on the ego. It's like you're cutting through the ego, and Venus is trying to maintain healing whilst you do that, so you don't lose hope and connection to your spirit. But Pluto is literally cutting into the ego and showing it, hey, you don't have free will because your psyche is not clean. And especially now, because after Capricorn comes Aquarius with higher intelligence, Saturn is in Aquarius. So Saturn is like, how are we being governed by collective ideas or by self-made entities on the astral plane? Because after all, we also have a stellium in Pisces. So we needed to go through this purification here. Excuse me. Oh, we're here. Yeah, here in the sign of Capricorn to reach Aquarius, so that finally the higher self and higher consciousness and higher codes could enter the soul again. Or exactly, we are cutting we're cutting into the ego so that spirit can enter and the soul can enter. They both can enter more into our humanness. Okay, we're trying to heal and maintain a connection with our soul and purify it and heal it. And we're operating this spiritual surgery, as I said, while still being human and being here and existing here. So I feel our mental space will be very much conducive of healing that will reflect in our physical body. Now, what else? yeah, so Saturn is in Aquarius. Saturn is also the ancient ruler of Aquarius. So it's like Saturn is overlooking this operation. So this is establishing a new order, and this to me feels like establishing sovereignty of the soul in the astral plane for many of us, many light workers and just people in general. Okay, I think that the stars are trying to free us from the astral plane and attachments there that, you know, could be created actually by the very authorities that rule over us with Capricorn. So, you know how these societies or figures of power and authorities, they would dabble into the esoteric, they would dip their toes into the occult, and they would use it to manifest certain outcomes, or they would manipulate through movies and media. That's how they also create these egregores, these entities that we may buy into. And I want you to be very aware with Aquarius, with Capricorn there is duality, with Aquarius too, because Aquarius is it's a fixed sign, so it's very difficult to be all-inclusive. So I want you to be very aware of movements that create separation. So global events that make you feel like you need to decide whose side you're on, these create separation. You pick and you choose because you've bought into the illusion that you have to make a decision and you cannot be neutral, or you cannot just stand and observe without taking a stand. You may feel pressured by communities, Aquarius, you know, by communities, by society, by even celebrities and influential people to like make a decision. But basically what they're telling you is pick an egregore or pick an entity that you will attach yourself to and you will fit this idea. And then we wonder why we repeat history, because these egregores are being evoked through different ideas that are promoted. So this Pluto baby is doing very tough work, okay? Coming together with Mars, it's like Mars as a warrior is going under operation, and also elevation. Mars is being elevation. Excuse me, guys. Mars is going through this spiritual surgery that will lead to elevation, so that Mars is a renewed warrior, and now Mars and Venus are supposed to fight together. That's why they are still in conjunction even after leaving Pluto behind. They're supposed to come together and fight. And I mean, still they're in a very tight orb, but I wouldn't consider it a conjunction. It's around 5 degrees orb, so I won't consider this a conjunction. But they're pretty close to Pluto. So I think that Pluto is just, doing its final touches. But basically, Mars joining Venus in the sign of Aquarius, they're becoming a literal spiritual warrior force. They're becoming one. And that's why you may see a lot of people fighting against each other. But I'm telling you, there is a global thing going on where, and this started a couple of years, 2 or 3 years back, when we had to make a decision, are we into or not into something, if you know what I mean? So constant split, like decide this or that, yes or no, black or white. This is the ultimate creation of separation and weakening the collective consciousness, or the healing that we're supposed to do here on Earth as one. This is taking us out of the unconditional love we were supposed to remember. And thank goodness, while this is happening and Venus and Mars are moving as a warrior, we have a stellium in Pisces. The Sun, the Jupiter, Sun, Jupiter in conjunct in Pisces. That's so beautiful, because at least now Jupiter in the tree of Kabbalah is the demiurge. It is the first Sephiroth or sphere that believes it is God. It is the first, let's say, child. So yeah, literally the demiurge. You know, you have the initial creator, and then you have the creation thinking it is the creator. That is Jupiter. But in Pisces and in conjunction with the Sun, you know, I actually like that, because I feel a lot of people will start finding benefits to their ego, their personality, their power and strength, and their good luck and fortune. They will find a lot of benefit in those areas of life through choosing unconditional love, choosing being all-inclusive, choosing a peaceful approach, or making a peaceful stand in the world, no matter how difficult it is. I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult to, like, just, I don't know, not feel like you don't have an opinion, but I really think that this is an illusion, that with Aquarius, where does the ego come from? From being smart. So I want you to be careful, guys. Do you make an opinion about something just to be smarter than the other person, or I think better than you, or whatever, I'm more conscious, or whatever? Or do you make it because you really believe in something, you came to this conclusion alone, without outside sources of information, you know, for the most part? Did you come to this conclusion naturally? Does it make you feel peace inside, or do you feel rage against someone else? That's the difference. That is separation. And yeah, we have these quotes from Pisces about love and wisdom coming together and helping us transcend this very, very intense situation going on here. Another thing, I feel our physical bodies are ascending. Why? Because after Pluto being in Capricorn is the goat fish, half goat, half fish. That's how it's illustrated. That's actually the animal that represents Capricorn, and it correlates to Pisces. So that's why I said Capricorn is the last, or the highest possible evolution in the material plane before you reach Aquarius. Aquarius is the astral plane. Aquarius is the plane of genius, of ideas, of creativity, of abstract forms and thought forms, especially these are entities, thought forms, that can attach as well to your astral body. This is Aquarius. So Capricorn, already with that fish tail, you know, Capricorn understands that this is the peak of material achievement. It cannot go better, or it cannot become more than that. Now I'm seeking and I'm feeling intuitively this transcendental fish Piscean energy. But how do I reach it? You need to first surpass the human mind that has ego, right? Leo. So the genius of Aquarius is not without ego. And then, only then, you reach the pure spiritual planes of Pisces. And you reach the spiritual integrity of Pisces. So currently, Venus and Mars being in Aquarius, the battle has not ended. We are still fighting thought forms and apparently genius ideas, or whatever sort of ideas that actually come from the ego of Leo and manifest as higher intelligence in the mental body of a human being. But the pure spiritual plane, you need to transcend that as well. And Mercury is headed there, so we're heading there, with our awareness, like we're becoming aware of that, more and more aware of that. We will become painfully aware of spiritual warfare. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody, I'm just saying that we're becoming, and look, Saturn is also in Aquarius, we're becoming painfully aware of the responsibility we have for our own mind, for our own energy bodies, the emotional, the mental, the astral, the spiritual. We are becoming painfully aware that we are responsible for the state of our soul. It's not a given. And these planets, at some point, Mars and Venus will reach Pisces. And some of us will make that leap, some of us will not, or at least not fully. Of course, it's a constant cycle of growth, but this time it's gonna be very telling. It's not the end all be all, but it's definitely very, very telling, and it's literally like the door of opportunity for you to grow, to spiritually evolve and have an actual alchemy going on is huge. Like, this door is huge and it's open for you. And that's the actually, when we talk about alchemy, when we talk about the alchemical marriage, that's that's what it's called, the conjunction between Mars and Venus. This is it. This is true alchemy. This responsibility to elevate your soul, get it on a higher level. So Saturn in Aquarius, I think that from an esoteric perspective, of course, there is a mundane interpretation, like what will take place in the world with displacement and so on and so forth. But I do read the esoteric meanings because that's just what I vibe with. And from an esoteric standpoint, I think that Saturn in Aquarius is about responsibility for our mind, what we allow to think, because we, as I said, we will become very aware that not every thought belongs to us. Because I think that also Aquarius is about telepathy, right? It's collective thoughts. It's not just your own genius, it's really collective thoughts. It is the higher self, it is higher intelligence from one perspective, but it's also a collective higher intelligence. And, every sign has duality. So it's higher intelligence, but it can also be just these thought forms in the astral. Because again, from a symbolic perspective, you have usually, let me show you. See, Capricorn, oops, sorry. Capricorn sits on the 10th house. It rules the 10th house. And that is like the highest point in the natal chart. This is the highest place the soul can reach in the material. And then you go back. There's nothing more you can achieve in the world. There's nothing more, not more money, nothing. So then your only strive becomes, mental. Because there is nothing else material that you can do. It becomes mental. But some people get stuck in the mental and they're like, ooh, I get these ideas and I can go back and create more. And this is where it becomes a vicious cycle. Instead, you grow mentally, you form a community, a collective, you explore these mental/astral planes of existence, and you realize there is more to life. There is more to the spark of life. So I want to transcend the mental and go into Pisces. Connect with my soul. And yeah, that's what we're being challenged. We also... Did I get this chart? I don't think I did. Oh, here it is. We're going to have a full moon in Virgo. So I think I'm gonna make a separate video for this. I don't want to mix everything because it's gonna be just too much. But this also ties in. Because after all, the opposition of Pisces is Virgo, and, you know, Virgo, even though it's an earth sign, even though it's in the... When you look at the chart, this is the personality of the individual, and this is the individual in the world mixing with other people, generally speaking. So Virgo, even though it's here, it's still part of the individual, it's still part of the personality, the ego, and so forth and so on. It is in opposition of Pisces. So this is like... Virgo is the most elevated sign when it comes to ego, because the ego comes from a place of I want to serve and heal, and Virgos essentially feel irritated when something prevents them to reach the godlike or the spiritual perfection and harmony. This is their obsession with perfection, because they know what it's like to be transcendental, perfect soul, and they try to bring this in the on the material plane. So the full moon in Virgo will be very interesting about how we bring our spirit, the purity of our spirit, into everything we do and manifest physically. So I hope you enjoyed this transmission. I know it might have been a lot. I did my best to just organize my thoughts because it's kind of chaotic. As I said, I channeled from many sources throughout a couple of weeks simultaneously, and it felt very messy. I was stressing so much over this because I didn't understand what it was until today. I just felt this guidance, like sit down and look at the charts for the past few weeks and actually look at them from the perspective of your channeling. And when I did, it made so much sense. So I hope it makes sense to you as well. And I hope this is somewhat of a clarification, and it just somehow helps you on your journey and brings you maybe peace, maybe for some of you some distress, because you know you have work to do. We all do. We all have so much work to do. But still, knowledge is power, and I just want to spread knowledge. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this format of this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.